So I just came out of the mikvah, and the mikvah, the waters that you're supposed to immerse yourself in, purifying waters right before Shabbos, right before the Sabbath comes. And one of the rituals, one of the thoughts, one of the awareness that one is supposed to have by that final dip is that you leave any anger in the water, and you don't bring it in with you. Hopefully anywhere, but definitely not into Shabbos. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful way, such a beautiful teaching. It's such a helpful, meditative rhythm to get into. And yet, on Fridays like today, and it happened last week as well, it's also almost humanly impossible when you're living here in Eretz Yisrael. And you hear beautiful babies getting ready before Shabbos, doing their thing. And there were some birds chirping before. And just about, 45 minutes that way, about an hour that way, where I'm pointing. But an hour that way is the town of Kida. Kida is a beautiful place in the Binyamin region, where the tribe of Benjamin dwelled. And a few hours ago this morning, one of the founding members of that area in Binyamin was gunned down and killed while protecting you and me. A 47-year-old father of 7 isn't coming home for Shabbos. 6 more children sitting Shiva, a wife sitting Shiva. The victims' families from last week's brutal murder in Elad just got up from Shiva yesterday. And there's this chain continues. And I had posted something about an hour ago in Hebrew. And some chaver really wanted to understand it in English. I think, I don't even know how to repeat what was said there. I don't know any other form of confronting this anger. And it's not even pain. Pain is like an understatement, but what is going on here? Forget here. Where's the soul of Am Yisrael? Just, the last few weeks, Yom HaZikaron, Yom HaTzmaut, we're singing Am Yisrael, Chai, Od Avinu Chai. Take a look, if you can, in the streets of Yerushalayim, Yer HaKodesh today. See what's going on in the streets of Yerushalayim. This morning, it's all over the news, you could see a miracle, but a horrible attack on a car driving to Beit El. We mentioned before the region of Binyamin, of Benjamin. Do you know that the grave of Binyamin, Ben Yaakov, the youngest of the 12 tribes, it went up in flames last Shabbos? See, there's so many things happening that we could barely catch our breath. There is attack after attack after attack after attack. What ends up coming on to making headlines is literally like a tiny percentage of what's going on here. And the dichotomy, the paradox, the seeming contradiction between, a Jew sitting in his garden, Erev Shabbos, Parshat Behar, here in Eretz Yisrael, talking about the land experiencing Shabbos, where I turn my head, and as you see that refugee camp right over there, that's Beit Lachem. If one of them would walk over here right now and say, let's talk, every Jew that I know here in Efrat would welcome them with caution, but with an open heart. But Am Yisrael just can't accept the fact that if I would go there with a flower, with an open heart and a hug, I wouldn't come back. Last week in Shul, we said that any post on social media that doesn't have a call to action seems to be meaningless. It just opens up the web waves for more and more expressions that don't go anywhere, don't do anything, and that cause more heartache and division and whatnot. So here's a little, very, very humble and shtickle call to action. What I shared before online, after learning of this 47-year-old hero named Noam Raz, who was gunned down today, was basically the following: like, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to go into Shabbos right now? How are you supposed to go into Shabbos? How are you supposed to function? How are you supposed to feel, be a part of the collective of Am Yisrael right now when there's so much pain and there's also so much uncertainty and there's so much, like we say, Rosh Ba'adama, which means basically putting your head into the ground. So much of it. How are you supposed to go on knowing that these 6 children will never, ever see their father ever again? How are you supposed to go on knowing that there doesn't seem to be any end in sight? How is one in today's day and age supposed to express himself when all it's really stemming from is to want to protect his family and to live safely? But when you express that in the world, you're considered a right-wing fascist. There's a teaching from Rabbi Nachman of Breslov that says that Avraham Avinu loved the world so much that he loved them enough, and for real, so much so that he didn't really care what they thought about him because he was confident in his love for the world. And when you love someone to that extent, with such sincerity, coming from such a genuine place, you really can't care that much what people think about the way that you love them if you know that you love them, right? If you know that you love them. This is found in the last teaching in the first part of Likutei Moharan, the teachings of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. So, friends, we went through Paro. We went through the Führer, the German Führer, even saying his name in Eretz Yisrael or anywhere in the world, but definitely here, Erev Shabbos after the mikvah. I won't go there. We went through him too. Somehow, we still haven't gone through Arafat. Somehow there's this klipa called Yasser Arafat that is still very much bringing pain and sadness to Am Yisrael. And Am Yisrael only has one home, Eretz Yisrael. There's no other place. And in Eretz Yisrael, in the governing body over Eretz Yisrael, the elected Eretz Yisrael leadership has a representation of Yasser Arafat in all governments that ever were, in all Knessets that ever were, and today as well in the government. And everyone is wondering, like, what should be? What should be? What are the answers? What should people be doing? And I know that people that have been reaching out from New Jersey, from Los Angeles, from Australia, from South Africa, from South America, all over Europe, and the love and care and genuine concern is so sincere. It's unbelievable. Am Yisrael, it's unbelievable. But we have a concept called Am Yisrael, Kol Yisrael Arevim ze Laze. All of Am Yisrael are guarantors for each other. We're all a guarantor for each other, right? And as much as I have to, I always say, okay, only the Ribono Shel master of the world, he's running the show. And we're all pawns. The question is, what role am I playing in this right now? So I'm getting to this call to action. It's very simple and it sounds very repetitive. But, Chevra, can you imagine? Can you imagine if thousands and thousands of our brothers and sisters would move here to Eretz Yisrael and get involved here, where it is the only future for Am Yisrael? Can you imagine if we got involved here, creating a situation that would look at today's reality of things that are actually happening and they'll be completely intolerable? If there was such a mass aliyah, from a very, very, out of love for the world, not we'll come show you, only as a natural tnu'ah, a natural movement towards where we're supposed to be, towards where we're supposed to be. Do you think there'd be parades all over Yerushalayim today with flags of a nation that we made up and we created because we weren't really sure what to do with them? Out of love. I know everyone only wants to come here. Komemiyut, va'olech etchem komemiyut la'artzenu. This situation now, it is, I'm telling you, I tend to really, more and more over the years, to really not dramatize anything. Or this is the first Facebook Live post I've done in God knows how long. It's crazy. And no one here is losing an ounce of hope. No one here is losing an ounce of Jewish pride. But we're waiting for our brothers and sisters to come and join us here. The whole land, the whole country. The whole country. This miraculous piece of beauty that God decided to give my grandfather and your grandfather. This whole country is waiting, and Mama Rachel, Kever Rachel, that is right behind the mountain that I'm looking at right now, just so you guys get a little bit of a glimpse. Right behind that mountain. Amash, right behind the mountain in front of you. It's Kever Rachel. Mama Rachel's still waiting there. V'shavu banim ligvulam. And I know that everyone's saying, I still have a job to do. I still have to turn on the whole world, and I still have to make sure that the whole world knows about Shabbos and everything. And it's, Shlomo HaMelech says there's a time for everything. Right now, Eretz Yisrael is burning. It's mamish burning here. Every second there's something else. As much as we want to make sure the world knows about Shabbos, Kim Yitzion Teitzei Torah Dvar Hashem Yerushalayim, at a certain point something's got to give. If we just go into another Shabbos, while this widow, fresh widow, who just found out 3 hours ago that her husband's never coming back home, and these 6 children just found out they're never going to see their Abba again. And I say to myself, maybe I can do something to prevent, God forbid, this from happening again, I have to dig so deep into my heart. Trust the love that I have for humanity. Trust the love that I have for the world. Trust the love that I have for my own people. And to just follow the dots of prophecy and see that this gift of living here, this gift is not only for all of us in Am Yisrael. At a certain point in our lives, it's also crucial. Because as long as the mass murderer Yasser Arafat, Yamach Shemo V'Zichro, has representation in Knesset Yisrael, I can go through all the spiritual revolutions I need to go to. It's true. And most of the time we speak of it in terms of a paradigm shift that only has to do with, a spiritual awakening. I want to stay alive in order to have those spiritual awakenings, and so do you. We want to stay alive in order to go to do that holy, essential work, which we all know needs to happen as well. So there's an Indian of Uvachaita B'chaim V'chai B'hem, choosing life. There've been, 21 Shiva homes in the last month and a half, Mashu Kazeh. I think even more. God knows how many orphans, how many fatherless children. At a certain point in our lives, we just got to stop and be like, okay, I got to get rid of everything that I thought I knew I needed to do. But if the house is on fire, what does it matter that by the neighbor, wherever that neighbor is, everything's okay? On a personal note, all I could say is that our chevra here in Efrat have Baruch Hashem built and continue to build the infrastructure for a place for so many of our brothers and sisters that are looking for that place they call home. And our arms are wide open, beyond words. But the beautiful places here in our country, all over, Ki mechakim anachnu lachem, v'atem mechakim lanu. Arevut, as long as a percentage of the governing offices in the state of Israel are run and led and driven by enemies, my arevut, my being able to be a guarantor, is limited. And it's so simple to change that demographic. I know you're probably saying, it's simple, but are you crazy? Look at all the problems. Yet, if there were hundreds of thousands of Jews that realized, Higei hazman lachzor habayta, it's time to come home. It's just time to come home, because certain things are intolerable. Just take a second. Try to find news feeds that are actually showing you a little bit of what's going on. As long as right now, in the town right next to me, they're giving out candies to the children of the town because this Jewish hero, Noam Raz, 47-year-old father of 7, isn't coming home today, I can't go into Shabbos and just pretend that everything's okay and it will be good. We play a role and it will be good. Mi yodea im le'et kazot igat lamalchut. Who knows why any of us were born in this time? Who knows why any of us are watching whatever we're watching? Who knows, how do any of us interpret and understand our exposure to what we're being exposed to? So that's really what I wanted to share from the bottom of my heart. And like we said in the beginning, that last dip in the mikveh before Shabbos, you're supposed to then leave the anger in the water. And I say this with holy chutzpah before the master of the world. It can't be that the relationship that you want us to have with you is one where I'm just supposed to ignore it because protocol. I'm supposed to ignore that pain, that sadness, and yes, that anger. There's got to be a place for it when it's used, directed with love and with determination to be able to be a true guarantor for Am Yisrael. May we merit to lekayem, to keep the privilege of being guarantors for each other. Kol Yisrael Arevim ze Laze. With so much love and respect and longing to see us all back home.